So when we were in Greece last year, we were out for about 2 weeks. It was me, Annie, my best friend Omar, and his wife Janice. We spent the first week and a half or so touring the islands, Santorini, Mykonos, Crete. It was beautiful. But then we got to Athens. Athens is not the islands. Very different feel, okay? And I've spent enough time kind of traveling the world to know that big cities, regardless of what country you're in, you got to keep your eyes on your stuff. Like there's pickpockets everywhere. Got to have your head on a swivel. So I'm not even kidding. Like I tell you, I could stand on the sidewalk and I could pick them out. Like, okay, that's one. There's one. Like that many, that obvious. Okay. So I'm always kind of head on a swivel, situational awareness. I'm always watching for stuff, as I should be. I mean, when you travel, that's the way you should be anyway. So the four of us are out. We go out for dinner. We go out. We get some dessert. And by now it's probably, I want to say it's about 9:30 at night. We're walking back to the hotel. And at one point, we're maybe, I don't know, I'll say a half a mile from our hotel. We turn the corner and it's dark, okay? And you got the street lights and you got the buzz of the city. Like we're in downtown Athens. And Omar and Janice are up ahead. Annie is kind of slightly ahead of me and I'm pulling up the rear, going. And as we are moving past this bus stop, there's a couple guys sitting on the bench. And over here, kind of in this alcove, there's an ATM. And there's a man and a woman standing there at the ATM. The man looked Greek. The woman looked Asian. Something about their dynamic didn't feel right. And we just walked by and I just happened to see him. I saw the guys on the bench and we keep walking. We get maybe, I don't know, 100 yards away. And I stop and I turn around and I look back at them. And Annie stops and she goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't know. Something didn't feel right." She goes, "The man and the woman at the ATM?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know, but I'm going." So Annie calls over Omar and Janice and says, "Hey, just come over here real quick." I don't know what my plan is, but I feel like something's off. So worst case scenario, I just go up and I make an ass out of myself and I say something and I'm wrong, whatever. But when I call the group over, I said, "Hey, just come over there with me because if I'm going to approach this couple, like if I'm going to talk to this woman, I want her to see other women with me. No, I'm not just some rando coming up and causing trouble. Because, I mean, look at me, right? And I'm in Athens at 9:30. So we go up there, and I walk right up to them, and I said, "Excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but are you two together?" I know that's a weird question, and it's none of my damn business, but I'm willing to be rude if somebody needs help. So I say, "Are you two together?" And I look at her, and she kind of looks at me weird, and then looks at him. So I look at him, and he goes, "Yes." And I look at her, and I say, "Are you okay?" Immediately starts crying, like sobbing. Now, he's holding a phone in his hand, right? And I can tell that they're communicating through the phone. Something's going on. So when I see her start to cry, I look at the girls and I look back at him and I was like, what's up? Like, what's going on? And he says, it's fine. I have an Airbnb. She's my tenant. She got pickpocketed today. I'm helping her. And I'm like, I don't buy it. I said, is that her phone that you're holding? And he was looking at her, and she's still just like a wreck. Okay. So I say, is that her phone? And he was like, yes. And I said, give me the phone. And of course, like, it takes a second. I get the phone. Now I'm looking at it, and it's a translator. And all I can see, because some of it, I couldn't tell. I mean, I couldn't read it. But the English said something about money, like, I can get you more money. And I was like, oh, okay. So we're at an ATM at night. She's by herself. This dude comes up. It's some kind of scam. So I'm like, I don't like this. So here's what we're going to do. He's telling me, he's like, look, it's fine. You're doing the right thing. I appreciate it. But she needs, he's like, I'm giving her money. She needs to get to the police station before it closes at 10 o'clock and report it. And I'm thinking, you're going to tell me that the police station closes at 10 p.m. in Athens? I don't like it. So I was like, okay, I get it. I said, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to go down here to the hotel, and we're going to call the police. If everything checks out, you'll be able to get your money. She can report it. It's going to be fine. We're right down the street. So he's getting real fidgety, real nervous. And he's like, oh, no, we don't have time for this. Like, she's got to get to the police station, blah, 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 blah. So the girls take her with her phone, and then we start to walk. Now, Omar stays back with the girls, and they're using her phone to communicate back and forth with her. Now, me and this guy are about 25 yards ahead because I'm just trying to push him to get towards the hotel where there's a lobby, there's a staff, there's all that stuff. But as we're walking, okay, now granted, we're on a sidewalk, we're in the city, and like, he is literally shoulder to shoulder with me. Now, he's a bigger guy, but like, I'm me, right? It is what it is, okay? But he's shoulder to shoulder with me, and he keeps saying stuff, and he's like, no, it's fine, we gotta go, it's gonna be a problem, blah, blah, blah. He's got a fanny pack on. Fanny pack's in the front. And as he's talking to me, and I feel him pressing up against my shoulder when there is plenty of room on this sidewalk, I start to get super aware of what he's doing. Like, he's keeping physical contact so he knows where I am and how far I am. And while he's talking, I'm looking at his face, but in my peripheral vision, I'm watching him mess with this fanny pack. So I stop and I just say something so I can break his pattern, okay? And he stops with his hands. He's just listening to me, and I'm talking. And the only reason I'm talking is to get him to stop and face me to allow Omar and the girls to catch up. Now, Omar speaks Spanish, and I'm assuming this guy doesn't speak Spanish. So I tell Omar in Spanish, watch his hands. Now, Omar is a former Marine like myself. He works in the same company that I work with. He's also very highly trained. So as soon as I say this in Spanish, watch his hands, he immediately doesn't respond. He just watches the fanny pack and the hands without missing a beat. So I'm talking to the girls. They're talking with the young lady and the translator back and forth. And we're probably a couple hundred yards from the hotel at this point, which I don't want to get to. I don't want to bring them back to our hotel if I don't have to. I'll pass our hotel and go to another one where there's a lobby, but I'm not going to bring them back to ours. So this is when the girls speak up and they say, okay, she's okay. I said, what does that mean? what he says is true. She's actually, she got her stuff stolen today. She needed help. He was the only number that she had, so she reached out to him. He's giving her money, and everything's copacetic. And I'm like, are you sure? And I look back and I'm like, are you okay? And by now, like, she was relaxed. She was smiling. I think she kind of like, she didn't really understand who I was when I came in hot going like this. But the girls talked to her for quite a while through the translator, and everything seemed to be okay. So then I said to the guy, I was like, and he's like, look, I get it. You did the right thing. I appreciate it. You guys are good people. It's fine. And then that was that. Okay. I made sure no funny business. Everybody's okay, right? She took her phone. She went with this guy, and they went to do whatever they were going to do. Now, at that point, if it was all still some kind of bad situation, if she doesn't speak up, like, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing we can do. They leave. We go back. And of course, like, as all this was happening, my head's going back. I'm looking around. Omar's looking around. Everything's fine. We get back to the hotel. We get up to our rooms, and we had adjoining rooms. And Annie says to me when we get up to the room, she says, you messed up tonight. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, you approached this guy and you had a handle on that. She's like, but there were two guys sitting on the bench behind you. I said, yeah, I know. She's like, yeah, but you had your back to him the whole time. She's like, when you were talking to him, I had to stand off to the side and watch them because you weren't paying attention to him. You turned your back to him. You don't know if they're all together. And I was like, that's a great point. I see, you're absolutely right. I knew they were there, but I just disconnected them. She's like, well, you got to be more careful. Now, that proves that my wife is paying attention. And when we talk about that kind of stuff, she's on point. And I dig that. But here's also something I want to mention about this story. I go into the room with Omar and Janice, and I kind of call like a little group meeting. And I say, hey, I want to make it really clear that what we did tonight was incredibly dangerous. Like, there's no qualms about it. There's no doubts. What we did was incredibly dangerous. Everybody agrees with that, right? Yes. I said, now, I apologize because I kind of threw you all into that situation. Like, that's on me. If something had gone wrong, that would have been my fault, my responsibility. Not that this makes it better, but I really felt like something was off, and all I could think about was, if it was one of you ladies and you were traveling and you were in trouble, I would want somebody to step up and help you. So regardless of what could have happened, like things go sideways and you don't expect, like, that's always possible. But I would have to hope that somebody out there is going to have some kind of decency to step up and do the right thing, even if it means things go sideways. It was a happy ending, hopefully.